Hi, I am Jen Wilson, the Healing Rebel, and today's podcast, welcome, by the way. Welcome to the podcast if you're new. If you are a return guest, thank you for coming back to listen to what I have to say. Today, I want to talk about the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine conference that I was at last week. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing some of the information from the lectures that I was at over the conference. So the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, I joined back in January and have since become part of their lived experience group. And they promote lifestyle medicine, with particularly just now within the medical community. So they're reaching out and getting doctors, nurses, people who work under the medical NHS umbrella to be interested in lifestyle medicine, because lifestyle medicine needs to be the way forward. It needs to be how we progress as a society to improve our health and well-being. So what is lifestyle medicine? Lifestyle medicine is based on evidence-based. What a lot of jargon. Lifestyle medicine, evidence-based, what does that all mean? What it means is they have identified 6 pillars, which I'm going to talk to you about today, that have sufficient evidence behind them. So scientific research papers that they can say with confidence, this works. And I'm going to caveat that for most people, because if you listen to my podcast, you know that science is brilliant, but it doesn't give us 100% definitive answers for all people. There are always outliers. And this is based on the evidence that is most prevalent, is most available and best understood and most widely accepted. For the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine to take this to doctors and nurses and surgeons and all these people, it has to be backed by science, because they have been brought up with the understanding that if it's not in science, it's not true. And for anybody who's been to see a doctor or had an appointment with a consultant, they very much stick to what's in the science and are very dubious about anything that maybe they haven't read about or they don't understand. And it can feel really challenging, especially for those of us who are in this more lifestyle approach that want to look at the bigger picture, that it's not just this part of the body is broken, so I'm going to give you this set of tablets to solve that one problem, because we are an ecology, we are an ecosystem. And if you've heard me before, you'll know that I say that everything influences everything. No one part of your body works by itself. Everything reacts and creates. So every medication that you take has an influence on one part of your body, but it has an influence on everything else. And when people get diagnosed with illnesses, very often what happens is they get given medication that then creates another problem or side effects, and then they're given another medication to counteract those side effects, which causes another set of problems, and then they're given more medication. And very often you hear people say they were at their cardiologist, they were at the radiologist, they were at the rheumatologist, the gastroenterologist, and all the different ologists through the hotel. And I've had conversations with people that wish that all those people would get together and have a conversation to try and work out what's going on in this one person's body, because one person doesn't want to take responsibility for something else, and people feel like ping pong balls getting bounced around. So lifestyle medicine is about taking this holistic approach, scooping up all the science, not just from the medical journals, but also from exercise and sport journals, looking outside of their field to be able to get a bigger picture. And I'm passionate about that. If you know anything about me and how I operate, it's about what is the bigger picture? What are the things that we can do that are going to help you feel better? Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to cure your diseases. We might, but we might not. But what it will do is help you live better with whatever it is that you're living with. It will help you live well. And that's what everybody at that conference was, over 1,000 people there, and I would have said 99% of them were GPs, which is incredible. it's a tiny proportion of GPs, because there's like 56,000 GPs in England, I think. That might be the UK. There's a lot, but there was over 1,000 of them there. And then I've spoken to other people who weren't there, who are medical people, and they're like, oh yeah, I've started looking into this lifestyle stuff, because they understand that their tablets are not going to be the answer. Obviously, there's a bigger challenge of us, the people, need to be willing to take responsibility for our health. Us, the people, need to do what we can, and it's difficult. And one of the doctors I was speaking to over the weekend, who wasn't at the conference, they had said, I'm looking into this lifestyle medicine stuff and it seems really interesting, but when I've got a patient sitting in front of me and they just want the painkiller, they just want the medication, they don't want to have to do anything. And it's, how do you then approach that? Okay, here's the painkiller, but I also want you to do an addition, because as a society, we have been conditioned over my lifetime, maybe slightly longer, that you go to the doctor for the pill and that will fix it. There's nothing you can do, and that's wrong. That disempowering people, when we need to hand back the power. Like, I cannot empower you, but I can encourage you to tap into the power that's within you. So I wanted to share with you what the 6 pillars were, why they're important, and then over the following weeks, I'm going to go into each of them with a little bit of more information. So the first pillar is sleep. Now, when I got first diagnosed with Crohn's, I didn't understand how I had come to this point. How is that possible? I was fit and healthy. If you've heard my Crohn's story on previous episodes, it just didn't make sense. And then when I started looking into, right, well, what is Crohn's? It's inflammation, right? What is inflammation? How does somebody become inflamed? What happens in their body? What is missing from their body? And one of the first things that came up was sleep deprivation. And that was one of the things that I did not get a lot of, between working till late at night, from early in the morning, coming home, watching TV, eating my dinner really late, going out partying. Sleep was not something that I made a priority, and I was lucky if I got 4 or 5 hours a night. So that, over a long period of time, accumulated to be one part of the story as to how Crohn's ended up in my life. So that for me was one of the first things that I started working on. Right, this sleep is really important. How do I improve my sleep? And I teach this inside the Healing Rebel, all the different things that I have tried and I have done. I spoke on my last podcast about how to improve your sleep, and that had come off the back of a conversation that I'd had with my neurodivergent community. What works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for the next person, which can be really challenging when there's 2 of you sleeping. Like, if you've got a partner and you're both sleeping in the same room, one likes it hot, one likes it cold, one likes it light, one likes it dark, that can make things really challenging. But what we all need to do is work out what works for us and then make it work for us. And that might mean that you have to sleep in a separate room from your partner, but it's going to make you have a better relationship, because you're both going to be better rested and well rested, and then be able to function in life and have a healthier, happier life. The sleep is the first pillar that I'm mentioning. These are not in a hierarchy. I just had to write them down in a list, and that was the first one that I wrote in my list. The sleep, vitally important. Somewhere between 6 and 9 hours. Everybody works differently. If you are waking up in the morning and you do not feel refreshed and recharged, then you have not had good quality sleep. Even if you've had 8 or 9 hours, it hasn't been good quality deep sleep. So definitely recommend that you check out the Healing Rebel to find out how do we improve our sleep. The next one, physical activity. Again, if you follow me, you will know I am passionate about physical activity, how to get you to move your body, move more. And it doesn't need to be exercise, it just needs to be moving your joints, and as many of your joints as possible, as much as you can cope. I will talk in more detail about one of the lectures that I went to, who was talking about movement, and we were talking about the 10,000 step thing, and do we need to do 10,000 steps, and the history of where 10,000 steps came from, and how actually, for your physical health, the amount of steps you need to do in a day to decrease your mortality risk by about 40% is a really low number, a really surprisingly low number. I will talk about that more. I don't want to give it all away in today's podcast. I will talk about that more in one of the upcoming podcasts, so please do keep an eye out for that. The next one is healthy diet. Again, something I'm always beating the drum about. Healthy diet. I thought I had a healthy diet. That's my post being delivered, if you heard that thump. I thought I had a healthy diet before I was diagnosed with Crohn's. And I did to an extent, but I was also at that point vegan, using plant-based milks. I wasn't looking at all at the ingredients list on them. Although I was eating lots of good food, I was also eating a lot of ultra processed foods that I thought were healthy because I just hadn't read an ingredients list, I hadn't paid attention. And because I was out working so much and running about from here to there, I was always on the go, so I had to take what was convenient. I didn't have access to anything to heat foods. I had to have my yogurt, so because I was vegan, I was having soy yogurt that's full of stuff that's damaging for your health. I was drinking soy milk, coconut milk, oat milk, not looking at the ingredients lists of any of these things. So really actually hitting quite a lot of those ultra processed foods. Since diagnosis, over the last 7 years it's coming up to now, I've changed my diet and I've been really tuning in, listening to how my body responds. Lifestyle medicine, British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, talk a lot about the Mediterranean diet because it's one of the most researched diets. It is, but also, as one of the lecturers was Greek said, the Mediterranean diet isn't just about the oil and the fish and the fruit and veg. It's about the whole culture around that. It's about dining with people. It's about that community getting together to prepare a meal and then sitting down together and taking your time, taking an hour to sit and have your dinner. No TVs on, conversation, laughter, connection, community, all of that encompasses. So if you're always eating by yourself, you're not going to have as much benefit as if you can eat with other people, which is difficult if you live by your own. So can you meet up with people on a regular basis, maybe for lunch, maybe for dinner? And it doesn't need to be going out. Can you have people round? Can you go to other people's houses? Can you do potluck dinners to create some sort of community, especially if you are by yourself? If you're in an office, can you and your colleagues sit together and have a chat rather than sitting scrolling through your phones or checking your emails? How can you go into a cafe and sit and chat to somebody? How can you get out there so that you're not dining alone? And then how do you remove as many ultra processed foods as possible to get that healthy diet? The next pillar is, also within the Healing Rebel, I talk about nourishing your body and gut health. Gut health was a big focus over the conference. What do these ecosystems in our body do? How do they help health? There was an afternoon, 3 or 4 lectures all back to back on gut microbiome, how it influences teenagers, their moods, their anxieties, their depressions, how it influences cancer and your likelihood of being able to heal from cancer and properly process the medication. I can't remember, the words are a scramble in my mind at the moment. So there was lots of information around that, which is vitally important. Gut health for women's health, going through the menopause, going through menstrual cycles, how important gut health was for people there. Again, I'm going to do a more specific podcast on that, and it's something that I talk about in the Healing Nibble. Healthy relationships. So like I was saying about eating with other people, also thinking about the people who are around you. Are they toxic people? Do they make you feel shit? Or do they make you feel amazing? Do they lift you up? Do they inspire you? Do they encourage you? Do they make you laugh? Thinking about the relationships that you have with other people and also that relationship you have with yourself. In the Healing Rebel, I've got a module on self-sabotage, and that's very much to do with the relationship that we have with ourselves when we set out to do things and then put our own blocks in our way. Amanda Trainer also comes in, Mrs. Brain Trainer also has a bonus module on brain training, which talks about this mental processing and how to help with your relationships with yourself, and then that then feeds into your relationships with other people. So very, very important. They know that loneliness is a driver of illness and disease. It's a driver of early death for older people. It makes dementia and Alzheimer's worse. I read a study yesterday that was talking about loneliness and social isolation and IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, which is what Crohn's is, and how that makes the disease worse and makes the health outcomes worse for the individual. It's vitally important that we have these healthy relationships for our overall health. Minimising harmful substances. The lymphatic drainage that I teach, vitally important for this, because we can't get away from harmful substances. They're in the air. Cars are putting them out, lorries are putting them out, farmers are spraying them on fields. They're in our food, they're in the aerosol cans for our deodorants, they're in hairsprays, they're in every soap, shampoo, unless you're making your own. Environmental toxins are everywhere. If you wear polyester clothes, you're wearing environmental toxins that are absorbing in through your skin and into your body. Gut microbiome and your skin microbiome can help minimise some of the harms of that. There's a whole list, there's 1,000 chemicals listed that are now known endocrine disruptors. That means that they disrupt your hormonal system. I'm going to do a whole podcast on that. So the minimising harmful substances, learning about lymphatic drainage, which I teach in the Healing Rebel program. You should definitely check that out to help your body detox naturally. Did a podcast on why it's important, a couple of podcasts ago, so definitely check that out if it's something you're interested in. And mental well-being. Mental well-being, I teach values. That's that knowing who you are, knowing what's important to you. Breath work to help calm and soothe your nervous system, understanding your own nervous system, knowing what your limits are and being able to pull that back, really important for your mental well-being. I offer lots of rest and meditations. My friend Jack came in and did a bonus module on tapping, so EFT, tapping on acupressure points, and working with, what do we call them, affirmations. There are lots of things that we can do for our mental well-being, and it is important that you find the right thing for you. If meditation doesn't work for you, if meditation makes you feel more anxious, know that that is a thing. 1 in 10 people have a negative adverse reaction to meditation, particularly long meditations done a lot over big periods of time. Not all breath works. There's a huge push for breathing techniques like the Wim Hof method. That technique is not suitable for everybody. If you are somebody who is predisposed to anxiety, that method is most likely going to make you feel more anxious. There is a argument that you just keep doing it and eventually you'll break through that anxiety. But why have a mental breakdown trying to do a breath work that makes you feel horrible? Why not find a breathing technique that makes you feel better? For me, that's a no-brainer, but who am I to say anything I do not know? So that's the 6 pillars: your sleep, physical activity, healthy diet, healthy relationships, minimising harmful substances, mental well-being. All of those pillars are covered inside the Healing Rebel. You don't have to do the Healing Rebel course to get the benefits from it. You can just go, right, what are these pillars? How do I address them myself? That's brilliant. That is brilliant if you can do that by yourself. But if you do need support, then I am here to offer an option of support. As I said, I'm going to go into some of these topics more deeply. I have to go through all my notes, digest them, make sense of them, and decide what stuff there I agree with and what caveats I want to put in, what additional information I want to put in. And yeah, so that's going to be the podcast over the next few weeks. This is episode 197. I think, 196, 197. That means I'm fast approaching episode 200. I would love a little bit of input from you. What would you like to hear for episode 200? Give me some inspiration. Is there a guest you'd like me to have on? Is there a topic you would like me to talk about? Oh, excuse me, got the hiccups there. What can I do for the 200th episode? I'd love to know your ideas. So put them in the comments wherever you're watching or listening to this. Send me a message on social media, wherever you connect with me. If you're not connecting with me on social media, on Instagram, I am .JenWilson. On Facebook, I am Jen Wilson. YouTube, I am Jen Wilson, because I am Jen Wilson. Yeah, if you know somebody who needs to know about lifestyle medicine, maybe they're really struggling with their health and they don't want to hear it from you, but maybe they can hear it from somebody else. If you can share, that would be amazing, because otherwise nobody gets to hear this. When we like and share, that's where the social media, the podcast gods go, oh, this is valuable information. Let's let more people know about this. Any help that you can give me, that is the most valuable thing in the world to me. I am so passionate about people not suffering unnecessarily. It breaks my heart when I see and hear people struggling, when there's small changes that they can do that can maybe make a big difference in their life, because that's what happened for me. I thought that I was doing all the right things, and then when I started to explore a little bit more and take a proper step back and look at what I was actually doing, to realise, oh, this is where I got it wrong. Okay, let's try a different approach. As they say, pivot, and we all get Ross from Friends on the staircase trying to get the sofa in, shouting pivot, pivot. So yeah, that is what I'm all about. That's what lifestyle medicine's all about. I want to help where I can, and it's difficult, but it's not difficult. Like, these things are easy to get a good concept of, and changes have to be made to make a change. You know, nothing changes if you don't change anything. And then we can all feel better, even if we have been given this horrific diagnosis. As David Hamilton says in Heal Your Body, How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body, accept the diagnosis, not the prognosis, because the doctors are going by what's in the book. And there are always outliers, and I want us to be the outliers. I want us to be the success stories. I want us to be the winners at life. But if you want to join me on that journey, do check out the Healing Rebel coaching program. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today.